Our daily Bible reading today comes from Jeremiah chapter 35 through chapter 37. And our daily devotional today here at Carrollton Christian Fellowship comes from the very beginning of Jeremiah chapter 35. With Jeremiah chapter 35, we see that Jeremiah is called and the Lord calls and sends Jeremiah to go and speak to and invite the Rechabites into the temple. We don't know much about the Rechabites. We do know that they are a very committed side and a part and a group of the Israelites. And so they were very committed to living a holy and living a separated life away from the things which would cause and which are typical and usual for causing individuals to fall into sin and to be led away from the Lord. So they were very intentional about not going after and living around those kinds of things. They were a strictly nomadic group. They were living in tents. They were sheep herders. They were not living in cities. They were not living in farming off of crops of the land, but they were nomadic. They were constantly moving. They were constantly moving around, and their life was spent in the wilderness. In verses 3 through 5, we see that Jeremiah obeys the Lord. So he obeys the Lord to test the Rechabites in the temple to drink wine in the temple. So Jeremiah calls the Rechabites. The Lord sends Jeremiah and tells him to call them into the temple and to offer them to drink wine. Here, Jeremiah does not command them to drink wine in the name of the Lord. Nowhere in there does the Lord command and tell Jeremiah to tell them, "Thus saith the Lord." Tell them they must, but to offer them a drink of wine, before the Lord in the temple. And so the Rechabites, they were extremely committed to staying away from alcohol because of its tendency to distract and to lead men's heart away from the Lord, to lead men's heart into their pleasure instead of leading their hearts to the things of the Lord and a desire after righteous living. So they stayed away from this. And this invitation that the Lord commands Jeremiah to invite and to offer the Rechabites the wine, this invitation's purpose was to be a living parable for all those to see, that this would be a public spectacle for all those around to see of the obedience of the Rechabites to their customs and to the things and to the convictions of their heart. That the Rechabites, that they were committed to their convictions of how they should live in order to live set apart and in order to live according to how the Lord had commanded. And so this was to be an example to the nation there and against the nation that they were not doing what they were called and commanded to do. Then in verses 6 through 11, we see the Rechabites' refusal to take the wine and to drink the wine. So I hope that this can be a good encouragement to you. I hope this can be a good encouragement to live according to what the Lord has called and commanded and to lay it upon your heart of how you are to live separated for Him in the life that you live. There are various different things which the Lord has called each one of us and told us that, hey, for you, for your life, you need to give up this thing in your life, because this thing will be something for you that will lead you away from me. It's not that it's against my word. This thing is not against my character, but for you, if you were to partake in it, you would overindulge in it, and it would end up distracting you and lead you away from me and lead you away from living set apart for me. And so this should be, for the Rechabites, their lifestyle should really even continue to be a living parable and a living example for us. That anything in our lives that is going to distract us and is going to be a pitfall for us, to remove us away from having the Lord as the desire of our heart and as the chief knowledge and the chief where we get our knowledge and what knowledge directs us and what knowledge tells us to go forward and how we are to go forward in our day-to-day life, that we should stay away from it and we should stick with the things that are not going to distract us from the Lord. So again, I hope this will be a great encouragement for you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.